Back, guys. Today we're gonna build some mounts, all kinds of mounts, sway bar mounts, engine mounts, you name it, we're building it. I've been coming out here a little bit every night and doing a couple things on the car. I built this engine mount here. You can see the tube. It uses a polyurethane mount from Energy Suspension. We got these mounts here that are also Energy Suspension. They're just universal sway bar mounts. I had to build the bracket to attach it. You can see it there. We still gotta weld those up. That's gonna be the first thing we're gonna work on this morning, is we're gonna tack those up. Weld them, and we'll fit them onto the frame, and then we'll build the rear engine mount, which is basically going to be same concept, just a piece of flat bar with 2 holes drilled in it, and then an offset bent piece of flat bar that comes on the inside of the engine block, and then it'll use a similar mounting as the one in the front, and then we'll move to the back. We'll also build these 2 mounts, and then what else are we building? We'll see where we get. How about that? Okay, so stay tuned, let's get at it. Okay guys, we got those mounts tacked on there. We're just gonna tack them for now, so when we do our final test fit, we know everything fits good. It's hard to cut those off once they're fully welded on. Now we're gonna move to the back. So I got that engine mount built, so now we're gonna move to this back one. Now this is a bit tricky because the steering rack goes right here, so we gotta keep the mount as flat as possible. So I had this template, I CNC'd this over there, and we'll just use that as a template to drill the holes because I got them exactly where they need to be at. So we get that flat bar put on there. This will end up going right here. So we're gonna have to make another piece of flat bar that has a little standoff welded to it to get that distance right. And then this will just be welded to a piece of tubing that'll come down to this member. Now that we've got the other side fit up, we're gonna work on these two mounts here. I built some temporary mounts, pretty ghetto, but those are to hold the engine up while we remove these two and replace them. The way that this is gonna work is I have this bolt, okay? So it's got these two polyurethane mounts. Basically, I've gotta make some adapters to fit the ID of this hole and the OD of this. So I'm gonna go over to the lathe, machine those little adapters. We'll put it in, we'll make our little pipe mounts, tack them up, and then we'll get to welding. All right, guys, I want to show you how all these parts work together as the rear engine mount. I actually just had an epiphany now that this isn't going to work. We're going to have to modify it a little more to make it work right. So on the bike engine, there's a bolt that goes through the frame of the bike and the rear swing arm, and it goes through this hole. Now, this is bigger than 3/4 of an inch, so I can't just simply run a 3/4 inch bolt through it unless I want it jingling around. I'm imagining it's probably a metric hole, but I don't care enough to find a metric bolt. So I made these little adapters. Now this fits in that hole really snug and nice, right? So we're gonna have no rattling or no loose parts. And then I was like, oh, I'll just make it one piece, and then I'll just integrate this, which is the inside of the bushing, into it, right? Oh, it's all one piece, more rigid, less chance for it to break or rattle or whatever. Well, now I just realized that once we've got our bushing adapter on there, welded with a piece of tube, you're never gonna be able to get the engine off the frame. So what we're gonna have to do is, I drew a little picture here. So this is the one piece design right here, right? So the reason why it locks the engine is once you get this cup welded on, here's this other side. Once it's welded here and here, these are gonna be stuck in the engine case and there'll be no way to pull it out. So what I've gotta do is lop off this, and now I'm just gonna use the OEM energy suspension one now because it's zinc plated. This is just 4130 round stock that I had in the shop. So if we cut that off, so it's like this, and we use the stock one with the bushing, now we'll be able to take the engine case and go upward with it and then pull the adapters out, and it should work that way. Yeah, so we'll get the adapters fit up and then you can kind of see how everything works. All right, guys, so I got those made, cut them down, we faced them on the lathe. There's the one and the one, and then this will just go right here. We'll have to find our bolt. So you can kind of see, all we'll have to do is run some tubes down, clean up these temporary welds. You can see they're kind of nasty. Clean those off. We'll put the tubes in, and we'll tack them up. Okay, now that we got our mounts done, we've got to take out these bushings and replace them with these aluminum heat sinks that I machined earlier. So those will go in there, and then we'll put the bolt all the way through. So that way we know that they're concentric to each other, and then we'll weld everything up. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick, the reason why I didn't tack this in is I want the ability to weld this joint right here before I put this in. It'll just make it a little bit stronger overall. It's probably not totally necessary because of how thin the wall thickness on this is, but I just feel like it's gonna bug me knowing there's not a weld underneath there. Just hit a big milestone, getting the engine permanently mounted. There's a few welds left I need to weld up, but it'll be easier with the engine out. So in the next episode, I imagine I'll pull the engine out and I'll make those welds. There's a couple little spots on the frame I want to massage to fit the header. And then we got to connect the engine to the rear wheels. That's our next big hurdle, but we're getting there slowly but surely. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your viewership.